into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. Sorry, guys, I had to get a package from the front door. So I'll open that when I get on our next video. 1 second. What do you guys think? We're going to get into like Cassie testifying. What do you guys think about that? We're going to talk about, what type of juror should be selected for Diddy. Will the liars that came up about Diddy, from all over the internet, I can't remember the girls' names at the moment, but I covered them on some of my content that came up and lied about Diddy. Do you think that'll muddy the waters? What do you guys think? Drop your teacups and your thoughts in the chat.
Sir Michael Babcock, live from LA. Ooh, I'm in LA when the sun's always shining.
It's not. It's not. It's all right. It's hard to tell. It looks like it's going to be a decent day. How you doing, Mario?
I'm doing all right. It's just the rain has me in a bed. It's been raining for like.
Is it raining? I can't hear. I got to make. Oh, sorry. I couldn't hear you. It was raining. I'm sorry. I hope it clears up. Something's happened. I don't know what. It's not raining here. It sounds like it is though. So forgive me if you hear that noise.
We hear nothing. You look nice.
Okay.
Got your chain out. I see. Where are you coming from?
Sleeping. I can't. We're on a different thing here today, so I can't see you. This is very unfortunate.
You're missing out because the earrings really
I
set
can
this
only
dress
imagine.
off. That's all I'm going to say. And I did a nice little something different with my eye makeup, but it's fine.
We got to figure out the return because we're not on Skype anymore, so I can't see you.
Yeah, we got to fix this. This getting started today. Do you think this is going to be one of the most watched trials ever?
Yeah. I mean, talked about absolutely. I mean, the reality is it's like 90 or so minutes now. This thing got started in New York, and task number one is picking this jury, which is going to be, I think, a near impossible task. I mean, to your point, Marielle, everybody knows about this case. So how do you find people who don't have an opinion on Diddy's innocence or guilt? I mean, that just seems like a Herculean task. It seems nearly impossible to do, but that's what they're going to have to try and do here. So they will ask a lot of questions. It's probably going to take the better part of a week to find a jury. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about finding people who don't have an opinion on the case necessarily, but can you change your mind? Are you amenable to that? And I think that's going to be the big question.
And it's supposed to last at least 2 months. I mean, can you imagine being on that jury? That is day
that's
in,
another
day
thing.
out.
Yeah, and in this, I mean, I think it's a real concern is that
I have a question, and you guys let me know. I'm looking this up. Do you get paid to say for like a 2-month trial, 2.5 month trial? Do you get paid for being a juror on a lengthy trial? If you guys know, tea sippers, please drop your understanding in the chat for me. Do you get paid? Okay. It says, yes, jurors are compensated for their service, including during lengthy trials. Okay. So, of course, it brings up the state that I am in, and it says jurors receive a daily fee of $50 per day for the first 3 days of service. And employers are also required to pay regular wages up to $50 per day. Okay. So, wow, if you are regularly employed, your employer is legally obligated to pay your regular wage for the first 3 days of jury service. So first 3 days, they're talking about Diddy's trial lasting 2.5 months. After the first 3 days, the state covers $50 a day. So say you are a person that makes a significant amount more than $50 a day, you're only going to get paid $50. So prayerfully, these people that are in New York State that are going to be selected all around New York, they said from upstate to all over New York, have enough somewhere where they can sustain their life for the next 2.5 months, because they're going to be wrapped up with Diddy's bullshit. Okay.
It's the summer and you've got people who are going to have kids who are home. What do? You know, you're going to have to be at this courthouse Monday through Friday, for the entire day. And I think that's going to be, you're going to see a lot of people for hardship reasons asked to be excused. So
exactly. People are probably going to be even madder at the fact that Diddy got their funky ass having to sit there and deal with this bullshit, because they're not going to get paid their regular wage only for 3 days. The rest of the days that they are obligated to be at jury trial, they are only going to get paid for from the state $50. $50. That's it.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to set it. They're going to find the jury. They're going to sit a jury, and you know, the way the schedule goes, next week we're going to do opening statements, and then we're off and running. But you're right, 2 months. This is going to go on forever.
All right, let's hop over to former pro basketball player Kevin Garnett. What's
we're
going
not on Kevin Garnett's tea currently. We are sipping from Diddy, y'all. So let's go ahead and listen to a little something that I picked up on. Okay. Now, I know you guys, most of my listeners are pretty familiar with Umar Johnson, I think is his name. Okay. Umar had some choice words to say about Diddy in his trial, where Cassie will be testifying, right? So let's see if I can find that, and let's take a listen to that, okay? So I thought it was pretty interesting, and I would love for you guys to hear it as well. So let me just go ahead and type this in. Umar, Diddy, Cassie. Okay. Dr. Umar goes off on Cassie being able to testify against Diddy. She has already been paid off. Thank you, Art of Dialogue. He's a really great channel. Go over there and sip some of his tea.
Dear Dr. K.
Okay. So let me also subscribe. He is a wonderful commentator, speaks to a lot of great-minded people on lots of great subjects and topics. Okay. So let's get into it.
Gotta ask you about this upcoming Diddy trial that's coming up in a few days. I think it's coming up in about 4 or 5 days. How you feel about Cassie testifying against Diddy?
Yes, sir. First of all, it should be absolutely illegal for Cassie to testify against Diddy.
And I'm not going to hold you. I also, respectively, I can appreciate Cassie's testament to what Diddy, has been brought to the light to have to take accountability for. However, like Umar is going to explain to us, tea sipper, so please have your listening ears on and sip this tea. It's supposed to be illegal for you to testify against someone in any type of criminal situation if you've been paid off by them civilly. Okay, let's sip that tea.
paid her off, I believe there was an NDA involved in that situation. He was paying her off to shut up and go away. After all the money he paid her, after her signing an NDA, how can she then be brought back into court to testify against them? It reminds me of Bill Cosby. Some of those women who lied on Bill Cosby during his sex abuse cases had NDAs. And the court let them break the NDA. You never see this with a white man accused of the same. You never see this with a Caucasian accused of the same. His lawyers should do all that they can to fight against Cassie testifying. She wasn't sex trafficked. So why are you testifying in a sex trafficking case? He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie. He's being charged with crimes against others. Cassie was paid and dismissed. Why is she being brought back into court after taking that man's money and testifying against him?
And why do you guys think that that is what's happening to Diddy? Do you think that it's railroading? Do you think that it is because instead of Cassie? Because I don't believe that we've heard over these like past 8-9 months since Diddy's been arrested, Cassie sued him, that Cassie was a person that was I know in her lawsuit she said that she was forced to do a lot of things, right? However, I don't believe she was brought up on any type of like charges. I believe she was reversed around to be made a victim. Okay, so it's like either was Cassie going to be like a co-defendant, or was she also going to be somebody that was going to go down with D in the sense of where these sex trafficking crimes and all these other racketeering charges and transportation to engage in prostitution things are going on. Okay, because how else otherwise could they flip Cassie? Because Cassie essentially was already paid off, right? So it's like, how could they flip her if she's already been paid off? She's not a person that they're looking at as being in cahoots with Diddy because they made Diddy pay her, right? So it's like, okay, they're looking at her as a victim, possibly that can testify against Diddy in the areas to know more elaborately about what happened during these times of racketeering, conspiracy, what else like I wrote down here, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, right? It's like, okay, more than likely that's what the angle that they're looking at doing with her, you know, posing her as a victim. Look, and it must all be true, y'all. Diddy had to pay her. But in the event of the NDAs, then where do those really come into account, and are those ever really held liable against anybody in a court case? Because NDAs are supposed to be something that you cannot, it's like specify something that you cannot use against somebody in the matter of a court or police involvement or like media, where you cannot disclose whatever the fuck you think you may know about a situation or a person, because you sign a non-disclosure agreement, the NDA, you're not supposed to speak on it in any matter moving forward. It's supposed to be bindable. Okay, you're not supposed to be able to break an NDA. Apparently, though, courts have been able to break NDAs, just like as if they never even existed, or the paper that they're written on is, you know, worth nothing. Okay, back to Dr. Umar. Okay, he's responding to, should Cassie testify against Diddy in this up and coming trial that's starting today? They are starting selecting jurors as of today.
That right there is clearly an excessive and abusive use of the law. She should not be able to take the stand against that man. And I don't condone sex abuse. I don't condone sex assault. I don't condone sex trafficking, none of that. But at the same time, I stand for justice. In letting a woman who's already been paid off and signed the NDA to come into court and testify against me like y'all allowed in the Bill Cosby trial, absolutely unacceptable, absolutely wrong. I do not.
Well, we can see where, as I said, we're seeing that be excluded from court matters, Now you know how you know, Caucasian people that are over our legislators and over our laws, essentially, can go in, change laws, go in and, you know, set things in place and in motion to fit their narrative, right? Um, so we've seen that, like he just said with Bill Cosby, had NDAs, right? To whereas people that had these non-disclosure agreements should not have been able to come into court and testify against Bill Cosby, but were able to do that because they ignored the fact that there were non-disclosure agreements in the first place, right? Which is supposed to be in the law. However, when you have people in position in law that have the ability and capability and power to change laws to fit their own narratives, this is the type of situations that unfold.
Like it. As far as Puffy asking for his case to be delayed, I agree with that. Remember, one of his lawyers recused himself, okay, at least one of them. So he probably has, you know, some new people on his legal team. They got to get reacclimated and get caught up with what's going on. And I saw nothing wrong with him asking for a 2-month delay. He's already in jail. Y'all didn't give him bail, which y'all also think is a violation of his constitutional rights. So he should have got the 8-week delay. But here we go again. Deion Sanders. We want to make an example out of Puff. And of course, Deion wasn't accused of what Puffy is being accused of, but we want to make an example out of Sean Puffy Combs. He was too confident, he was too big, and it was time for us to bring him down. See, one thing we need to understand, Art, the Carmelo Anthony case, the Shador Sanders situation, the Puffy Combs case, the Shannon Sharp case. They are all involving the same basic issue. And you know what that is? Black people need to stay in their place. Shannon Sharp, you ain't got no business sleeping with 19-year-old snow bunnies. Deion and Shador, you ain't got no business being confident and independent. Sean Puffy Combs, you ain't got no business being a multi-billionaire mogul suing a multi-billionaire liquor company. Bill Cosby, you ain't have no business trying to purchase a major broadcasting station. Carmelo Anthony, you have no business defending yourself against white people. We can do whatever we want to do with your people. In every instance of all these cases, Art, there is one common theme. Black people are forgetting who the slaves are and who the slave masters are, and we're going to remind you. Our job as a people is to rebel against the slave system, Art, but you can only do that if we working together. If we organize and unify, we can overthrow the entire slaveocracy.
And how you feel about him turning down his plea deal?
I would have turned down the plea deal too, Art. I would have turned it down. And the reason I would have turned it down, and again, I don't know Puff personally, never hung around the gentleman, you know, but I'm having a hard time believing he's guilty of sex trafficking. I don't know about the racketeering. I've never been in the bad boy office. The only thing he's being charged with that I could see him being convicted of is the prostitution, payment for sex. That's it. The Mann Act, interstate prostitution. That is the only thing I can see him being convicted of. I do not see the sex trafficking. I do not see the sex abuse. All I see is that there's a possibility that Sean Puffy Combs may have paid men and or women to have sex with him or other men and or women. All I see is fee for sex. Beyond fee for sex, I'm not sure of the other charges. And if my assumptions are correct, I too, like Sean Combs, would take my day in trial. I'm not pleading now. I would have needed to know what that plea was in order for me to decide if he should have taken it or not. I'm still leaning towards no. The other issue too here, Art, is you got to realize if he takes a plea, you cannot revoke that plea later. In addition to that, if he takes the plea on the racketeering, Art, that means he's admitting that Bad Boy Incorporated was a criminal enterprise, which means the government is able to lay siege to everything he owned in the name of Bad Boy. The money, the buildings, the real estate, the catalogs. And I believe the biggest reason why he not pleading out, Art, is he don't want the government to confiscate his entire legacy and his entire company. So after he gets out, he will have absolutely nothing if he pleads out. So I think he has to roll the dice and see what happens.
Okay, that was Dr.
downhill?
Umar. He chimed in on Cassie testifying, okay? He brought up the NDAs and the fact that Diddy already paid, right, for Cassie's silence, essentially. However, as you've heard throughout the news coverage so far already, Diddy will be, or Cassie will be testifying against Diddy starting as early as next week. By the third day of trial commencing against Diddy, Cassie should be on the stand testifying. Okay, now we're gonna get to some TMZ stuff, y'all, and see what they are sipping about the Diddler. Let's listen.
Back to
Thank you guys so much for watching Tanisha Talks Teas. I really want to thank you guys so much for sipping. Today we are sipping tea from Diddy's trial. Okay, drop those teacups in the chat and let me know where you guys sip your tea on Diddy. Okay, trial, since he's been indicted, charges. Do you think Cassie's testimony will have impact on Diddy? Do you think racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, which one of those, if any or all, will stick against Diddy? Will the liars that came up during all of this debacle of Diddy being arrested back in September 2024 on the 16th, to be exact, do you think that that will muddy the waters for people to believe anybody testifying against Diddy? What do you guys think? Drop those teacups in the fucking chat. Let's listen to TMZ.
You know, it all kind of comes together here. So Maureen Comey, who we're told from all accounts, she is a fierce prosecutor.
She was involved in prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell,
right,
and also Jeffrey Epstein. So she has been involved in some very big cases. And then the other 5
goddamn it, they are pulling out the troops. We already know the feds want Diddy, right? We know they want him. And they're pulling out all stops. They're pulling out, like they said, the Queen team against Diddy's ass.
Computers, Emily Ann Johnson, Madison Reddick Smizer, Mary Christine Slavic, Meredith Foster, and Mitzi Steiner.
Everything begins with an M there.
Yeah, except for Emily.
Well, but that sounds like
and
M.
that sounds like M.
Right.
So it's the M and M and M and M and M gang.
So like Charles said, you know, I suppose it could be coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence. And especially given the nature of the case.
Yes.
Because when you look at who is examining...
Oh my God. Okay. Y'all may be, you know, all wrapped up in this red pill shit that the men have against the women currently. But if y'all have not, you know, been under a rock and been out here about your business, standing on your square and not getting knocked off your pivot, you know that women are winning exponentially. You know, like we are winning. Women are leading. We're winning. We are advocating and navigating and narrating and, you know, all of our things that we're doing, we're putting our whole foot in it, and we're really standing on it, and we're making great impacts in life. So the prosecution is led by 5 women, okay? And look at the nature of the crimes that Diddy's being charged with, right? Sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay, those are all things that women are some of the biggest victims exposed to and done to as victims. So you already know the prosecution's going to try to bury Diddy's ass on those 2 charges alone. The conspiracy, the racketeering, where he was laundering money and is seemingly moving drugs throughout the countries, and using drug mules and things like that. Yeah, the women will fight really hard for that. They will be very passionate about that. But this sex trafficking and the transportation to engage in prostitution, women are very much mostly at the forefront of being directly affected by those types of things. So you know the women are going to try to bury Diddy for those 2 charges alone.
These various witnesses.
I'll slate it.
While TMZ are paying bills, we want to thank all of our new tea sippers. We've gotten a great response. I really want to thank you all for subscribing. Remember also, when you're in here, like my show. Please share it across all your social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so when I do go live, you have a front row seat with your teacup ready to be filled with all this great tea that we're sipping with Tanisha Talks Teas. Remember, the T stands for to elevate and soar. Today we're sipping Diddy's tea, y'all. His trial started today. They've already selected 2 jurors. Let's keep it moving.
You know, especially female alleged victims, of which there will be 4. Prosecutors often do look for.
So far, they got 4 women testifying against Diddy. This is all tea that I wasn't aware of. Diddy didn't die out, but his news kind of fizzled down until the trial, which started today. So, you know, we're up and we're on it. I wanted to get started earlier, like 11. However, I had to run some system checks on my computer. So, yeah, we're listening in, sipping Diddy tea. 4 victims women are testifying against Diddy in this trial so far. Wow.
Or a female attorney, a female prosecutor, for various reasons. There's a connection there. There's a comfort level there where they can open up and talk. And I don't think this is coincidental at all. But I think this is a double-edged sword in a way.
Yeah, definitely not coincidental at all, Harvey. Just to talk about that point for a second. The U.S. attorney for the Southern District is going to have hand-selected these attorneys very particularly. This is a very important case for them, extremely high profile, and they want to win. And so they picked great lawyers, no doubt about it. The fact they picked all of these women, they are clearly, to get to the second point you were making, this is an effort to try to curate their lawyers to appeal to this jury. I'm not sure how this works for them. I think maybe you can overthink these things a little bit, and I don't know that an all-female panel necessarily plays to a jury, regardless of the gender makeup of the jury, necessarily plays to that jury. I know all of the alleged victims in the criminal case are all women, and so they're trying to sort of stand united with them. But does it at that point become more about the cause of female empowerment, about women's rights, about women victims, and less about the actual conduct of this defendant?
No, I think that's the double-edged sword. That it might work
how does the jury
to that extent, where people feel like we're even making a bigger statement than just about one man. We're making a statement about a cause. But on the other hand, there might be people who say we shouldn't be nailing a guy for a cause. We should be nailing a guy for the guy and what he did. And so that could work both ways. And remember, what the defense needs is 1 vote. What the prosecution needs is every vote. And that's the difference, that if this doesn't sit well with even one of the jurors and they start feeling that, that could create a problem.
If you're the U.S. attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there, and it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder for them.
Yeah,
they need
I mean,
every juror.
The concept of the best attorneys, I mean, you know, the really good lawyers,
the most experienced.
But the really good lawyers are, you know, it's not this wide range. I mean, there are a lot of lawyers who operate at a really high level.
Sure.
So I'm sure all of these lawyers do. And so I don't even think it's so much we pick the best 5 lawyers. I mean, there's a group of lawyers that are all great.
The best 5 lawyers for this case.
The question is, did the fact that they're women factor in? knowing that all of them are great, but did they want this specifically? And I think the answer is yes. I mean, I think you can take top lawyers and say, look, there were 20 of them, but we, for various reasons, want all 5 to be women.
Right.
And we will see if that works.
Hi, my name's Juwan, and I'm from Detroit. I think this is like a little bit of karmic justice for the prosecution team to be all women, especially considering the crimes that he's alleged to have committed against women.
Are you drowning in payday loan debt? Have you taken?
Please excuse the background noise. My maintenance guys are outside doing some lawn work. Yeah, like I just said, as the guy from Detroit just specified, that, you know, karma for Diddy. Okay, they got 4 women already testifying, one in which he had to pay $30 million or some shit like that. Crazy.
That's what they hope the jury sees it as, but that would also assume that the jury thinks that Diddy is guilty. So that's why they have the trial.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing.
John Elway.